Hey there folks, Recon Trooper here, back with yet another video and another blaster rifle video. For those who don't know and are just tuning in, about a year ago, over a year ago I guess, September 2020, I had started making, or designing I should say, blaster rifles that are based on Star Wars guns, and I had, at the time, I had only made 10, and then just last month I had done 4 more finally, and just recently I had finished 6 more, and so, so I'm exhausted. They're not as easy as they look, but, I find the end result pretty satisfying afterwards, so, but, so I'll just get right into it, and if you enjoy the video, feel free to drop a like and comment on what you think, and let's just dive right in. So the first one I decided to design after the last 4 was this one, the E11. For those who know probably the original trilogy quite well, it's the only weapon the stormtroopers use. Well, not the only one, but the most common one ever used by stormtroopers, and it's not even just the original trilogy, it's kind of all sorts of Star Wars games too, like any Star Wars game that has, original trilogy stormtroopers, they always use this rifle. And so, yeah, I just finally decided I'd give it a shot at designing a 3D version instead of looking at pictures all the time. And so yeah, as you can see, I tried to be as faithful as possible, and so I made sure there was the scope on the top, and there's kind of a fold out stock right underneath the barrel there. I didn't put hinges in there, but you can, you don't usually see the stock unfolded anyway in the trilogies or games, it's always looks this way, so, but, and the hand support kind of going around the barrel there, I made some extrusions coming out. That's how it looks, in movies and games, and so, and but yeah, I tried to remain faithful to the design. Here's a somewhat forward shot, and I made the iron sights at the front. I gave them a slight, I don't know if you can see it, but there's slight extrusions coming right up into the middle. There's not really much to say about this. I mean, everybody knows this blaster inside and out, probably. So, and I made sure to add the ammo clip on the side there. You can see it, and the only thing I really changed is I made kind of the little bit at the very end of it. I made it darker just so that you could actually see the thing, because it was initially just basically the same color as the rifle, and it's really hard to see from certain angles, and so I wanted to make sure that you can see it where it is approximately at any angle, so I just darkened it a bit. But overall, I tried to remain as accurate as possible to its design, and and here's a back view of it, and the scope I gave a very, very dark blue lens to, because actually games that I've played, it's had a dark blue lens on it anyway, so I figured, you know, what the hey, just to do that. And you know, people anyone who's seen my previous 2 blaster videos knows that, you know, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't make a bigger version, and so I went ahead and decided to finally also do the DLT 19, and this one I did make some, you know, while trying to remain faithful to the design, I did make some deliberate changes, notably the scope on the top. I wanted to, you know, make it look similar. I wanted to give it some familiarities to and similarities to the E11, because I wanted it to be basically the bigger counterpart. And so some things I shared, like the scope, I put on the top deliberately, and I changed the handle slightly to match the E11's handle, because, you know, it's how I make them. You know, when I make a large and small blaster rifle pairing, I always make sure to keep things the same, from certain things the same from the other rifles, from the other rifle. So, you know, I make sure to share, usually it's the handle and the ammo clip, and if there's a scope on it, I share that too. And so, and also the inside of the barrel, you know, like the little hole where the laser actually comes out of, not the kind of area surrounding the hole. And so, and also you'll see on the bottom of the barrel there, next to the bipod attachment legs, I put a cylinder under there, and that's to be kind of a hand support for when holding the rifle, because it just kind of, I don't know, it just looked weird, seemed weird, you know, holding a rifle on the right on the barrel itself. And I mean, well, I'm sure they do that in the movies. You know, it just seemed logical to me. So, and here's a frontal view of the gun, and the barrel, the hole that the laser actually comes out of is actually deep inside that cone-shaped end of the barrel there. So you can't actually see it. It's deep inside there, but it is there. And yeah, I did make sure though to add all these holes along the barrel, all these big holes, because, you know, it just wouldn't have looked right without them. And I also added the ammo clip on the side there. You can see it protruding out a little bit, and just so, you know, because again, it's the bigger counterpart to the E11, and it just made sense to have it. So yeah, and then moving on to the next gun, this one I called the MQ2A, and as you can tell by the font, it shoots green lasers, which again, also I should point out that the E11 and the DLT 19 both shoot red lasers based on the font. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows that, but I thought I'd mention it now, just so people that haven't seen the videos before know. And so when you see the weapon's name appear down, and the color of the font is what laser it shoots. So this one shoots green, and it's a big one, as you can tell. It's a pretty big rifle. It's about the length of the DC-15A and the DLT-19. It's a pretty big thing, and of all the rifles I've made, I didn't make, you know, made too many with scopes on them, and so these 6 I made sure just had scopes on them because, well, the E11 already has a scope on it, and then like I said, I gave the scope to the DLT-19 as well, just to keep that similarity between them. And so yeah, these other 4 that are completely original that I didn't borrow and just make 3D copies of, these other 3 that I actually came up with myself, these other 4 are all going to have a scope on the top, or a sight, or whatever you want to call it. And so, as you can see with this one, it's got that, and you know, I made sure to tried to put as much detail as I could think and, you know, do on this thing. So, as you can see right off the bat, there's a blue rectangle on the side there, and that's just an inward extrusion. You know, I just did that just to give it a little bit of a detail, that so it's not looking so just solid gray flat, you know. And so yeah, I did that, and you can see right above it there's these 4 dark blue spots. I made sure to do that too. The other side doesn't have those 4 dark blue spots, but that's because, as you can also see within the center of them, you'll see that there's a bunch of small blue and yellow lights, and that is the ammo clip. And here's a frontal view of it, and as you can see, you know, I made sure it's extruding from the side. A lot of weapons I've made, you know, a lot of the other 14, most of them had the clip on the bottom. I think there was only 2 or 4, I should say, guns that had it on the side, and 2 of those were, of course, the DC-15A and S. But those are, of course, again, I didn't actually come up with them. I just designed them on here on my 3D program. Yeah, and so you can see also there's a kind of a knob right under the scope there at the back, and I put that in there just to give it a little more of a detail as well, because I don't have very many cylindrical details on most of my past weapons, and so I kind of wanted to have some more round details on these 4 anyway, not counting the E11 and DLT-19, because again, those were kind of just copied and pasted in a 3D program. So yeah, and you can see I made the lenses orange. I wanted something different than just blue, or, you know, dark blue, or in the R57 and the R80s cases, the lens is purple. So I wanted something that wasn't any of those colors, so I went with a kind of an orange lens. And you can see underneath it another detail, a slight extrusion on the top of the gun, along the top, just under the barrel there, with some yellow sides to it and a dark gray center. Yeah, I made sure to do that. And here's a back view of it, and as you can see also these small holes going along it. I made sure to have those go on there, because I actually did design these, like I still design them myself, but I pieced them together with different gun pieces that I could just find on the internet different weapons, and then I just borrowed their little pieces and stuff. And so the holes on the back of this thing are actually, they're on the pieces that I used. So, but I made sure they were in there, and you can also see at the front there's the iron sights, and the hand support spot is just dark gray, and I made sure to give it a kind of a pattern underneath, which you could probably see from that side photo earlier that I showed. And so yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And like with the DLT 19 and the E11, you know, this gun wouldn't be right without a small counterpart. And so that's when I decided on making the MQ2Z as well. And another thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is don't ask me why I gave them these names. As I've said in previous videos, you know, I don't really think about what the letters mean or the numbers or anything. You know, to me, like when you say E11, you know, then great, that's what the weapon's called, you know, or DLT 19 or DC 15, you know, like the list goes on. And so, you know, don't ask me why I called them these, I just did. Just trying to think of names that nobody's heard before and seemed right for the seemed to fit the weapon. You know, and so these ones just kind of clicked to me, so that's all there is. But as you can see, firstly, the similarities, you know, there's the clip on the side as well. The same scope and the handle are all the same from the MQ2A. And you can tell on the side here I put some different details, because while the guns have to have similarities, of course they also have to be very different. And this one actually is about the same size as the DC-15S blaster or the E11, and so it's a small one. It doesn't quite have the same, you know, length as the big guns do, and so I made sure to, you know, borrow similarities but also add some differences. And most notably, you can see on the side here, there's these dark blue lines, and these yellow squares at the front, right above the hand support, and also at the back. At the back here, you can see these yellow circles on the sort of back iron sights, I guess you'd call them. And so, yeah, and the hand support, you can see, have these blue, if you look closely, they have these dark blue lines, and those are just to give it a little more color rather than just be a solid gray thing, or even a solid dark gray, whatever. So here's a frontal view, and again the lens is orange of the scope, and you can see the barrel. The barrel has this really dark ring going around the center of it. It's kind of inwards, and I made sure to do that, as well as I made sure to put this pattern going along the back of the barrel here. This kind of pattern of repeated squares and rectangles going all around it. I made sure to do that based on the piece that I used. This gun, you can tell on the top, looks really flat. But you know what? There's lots of blasters and guns, for that matter, that are flat in Star Wars, not just in the real world. You know, actually, there's a game made, decades ago called Jedi Academy. And it had a gun called the concussion rifle, and it was basically a square shape too. So, and here's the back of it, as you can see. Yeah, this thing is about the same size, like I said, as the DC-15S and the E11 blaster. And so, yeah, so that's the MQ-2Z. Here is the X-23A, and as you can tell by the name, again, it shoots blue lasers, because I wanted something, not just the DC-15 weapons that shoot blue lasers, and so I came up with this one that also shoots blue, and it is again the same length as the DC-15A rifle, and the DLT-19, again, I wanted it to have a scope this time. I wanted this one to have the scope, because the DC-15A does have a scope on it, but it's usually never seen as a scope, being used as a scope. It's more just kind of a hand support, so, which is fine, I don't mind, but I wanted this one to have a scope on it, and right off the bat you can tell the clip is in the stock at the back there, and you can see a kind of dark brown going, 3 dark brown lines going along it in the center there. And I just didn't want it to be a solid gray, of course. And if you look closely, you'll also see a blue light at the very bottom. A blue light thing. And I also added a cylindrical thing right under the scope there, and with a dark blue center to it. Just again, another detail I wanted to add to differentiate it and give it a better appearance than just a solid gray shape, and that's all. And you'll see these orange rectangles that are opposite of each other. Another detail I wanted to add, the hand support is gray, dark gray, as you can tell. Here's a front shot of the front of it, and you can see the barrel hole that the laser comes out of, extruding there. The scope on this one I wanted to give green lenses to, because again, I didn't want to go with another blue lensed or purple lensed, and I didn't want to go with another orange lensed, so I decided green this time. And it looks pretty cool. I mean, honestly, it would look a whole lot cooler to actually use this in a video game. But and you can see on the bottom of just behind the barrel there, you'll see all these lines going along the side there, and those are also details I added based on the piece that I was using, the gun piece, in my sort of building of the gun before I did the modeling, kind of the blueprint, I guess you could say. And so I made sure to add those in, and you'll see here behind the farthest, or the orange rectangle closest to the trigger, you'll see these smaller rectangles, and those I put sure to put in there as well. And so, once again, wouldn't be right without a smaller counterpart, so enter the X-23G, and once again, it actually the same stock and clip and the same handle and scope, and so made sure to give it those similarities to the larger one. This thing is about the length from barrel to stock is about the length of DC-15S and E11, and this is the second blaster actually. Both of these actually are the second pair of blasters I made where the clip is in the stock, not, in front of the trigger like usual or on the side. The other ones were the KE18 and KE77. Those are in my first video. If you want to go check that one out, I'll put the link in the description. And also, of course, have it posted in the video window at the end of this video. And so here's a shot of the front, and as you can see, there's the green lens again, and I wanted to add this little circle kind of behind the barrel there. You can see this little circle with the dark blue center to it. Wanted to add that, and again, another cylindrical detail that just seemed to look good on it. And then there's this also kind of long, this kind of wide hexagon, and it's dark blue as well. There's also this orange rectangle. It's tricky trying to figure out details that aren't repetitive but are also not, complicated, And so that's what this is, and there's the back of it, as you can see. Yeah, so I made sure to make the handle of the gun dark gray on the sides because it just looked cool. So, but yeah, so that's basically the gun, the other 6 guns that I made. And so, here you can see a shot of the E11 and the DLT-19. I made some sort of next to each other comparisons, and so here's the back view, and you can see the size difference but also the similarities to the guns. Again, the ammo clips, the scopes, the handles, and yeah, they kind of just go well together. And there's the front view of them, pretty cool. And then there's these two, the MQ2A and the X23A. They're next to each other as well. You can see they're about the same length, and they actually look like they'd be pretty cool to actually use in a battle, in a Star Wars battle. Just seeing blue and green lasers flying everywhere. So, and then of course there's the smaller ones, the MQ2Z and the X23G. They work just fine next to each other too. Again, they're both about the same length as the DC-15S, so they look pretty decent to maybe use in a battle too. So, and so anyway, yeah, those are the next 6 I've made. And so yeah, if you again like the video, then feel free to drop a like and a comment on what you thought, and if you're curious about the other 2 videos, actually, I'll link them in the description. They'll also be at the end of this video in the video window. And so, but yeah, these took quite a while to do, quite a bit of effort. But I'm pleased with the results, even if some of the details on the DLT-19 and E11 were either altered slightly or missing entirely. But designing these things is not easy. And so, but anyway, so yeah, I thank you all for watching, and this is Recon Trooper signing out now. Later.